Grand Admiral Thrawn is known to many as one of the Empire's most gifted tacticians, and in many ways he lived up to his reputation. However, Grand Admiral Thrawn also made some very crucial mistakes during the Thrawn Campaign of 9 ABY that cost him dearly and honestly were quite avoidable. And with that, I'm probably going to alienate a lot of hardcore EU fans with this criticism of Thrawn's strategic and tactical abilities. But keep in mind that I do really like Thrawn and of course the expanded universe. I find him very militarily gifted, but he made some pretty dumb decisions that he should not have. To start with something that's considerably minor compared to his other mistakes, the Grand Admiral had very little support from other existing Imperial warlords. Although Thrawn barely needed any support from the other warlords to get as far as he didn't really try all that much to get forces from the deep core warlords. All it really shows is poor uniting abilities with difficult political actors at the time like other warlords, as of course most felt that they should be the ones taking over everything they had under their control. But the one area that Thrawn could have made real gains in is with Moff Ardus Cain and the alignment, which sent minimal support to Thrawn as merely acknowledgement of his existence. Another issue that Thrawn made which could have heavily aided his forces would have to be if he drew support from his Empire of the Hand in the unknown regions. Now, I know he didn't because the Hand was focused on protecting the galaxy from many threats in the unknown regions such as the Vagari, but having some resources diverted to the Thrawn campaign would have definitely helped him out a lot. Next up is definitely one of Thrawn's biggest mistakes, and that is how much he trusted and relied on the insane Dark Jedi clone Jorah Sabayoth, who definitely had succumbed to clone madness which Thrawn and Pelion had been familiar with, so just from the start they should have given Thrawn some red flags. Thrawn had brought Sabayoth into the Empire essentially only for the purposes of battle meditation. Although this was a major asset in coordinating his forces in the early campaign, Sabayoth's presence would destabilize his empire. Thrawn should have been immediately put off by Sabayoth's impatient and quite honestly schizophrenic nature about acquiring Jedi, which further showed his insanity. But also Sabayoth's attitudes towards Thrawn's empire was a major red flag. The Dark Jedi saw the empire as his own and not Thrawn's, which is not the best outlook to have in what is considered to be an alliance between Thrawn's empire and Sabayoth. Thrawn, however, continued to trust the guy despite the fact that Sabayoth believed everything was his to control during his declining mental state, which brings me to my next point. Sabayoth's view was another major trust issue that Thrawn barely recognized. To start, when Thrawn first met Sabayoth, the crazy old Jedi bragged about how he had control over every one of the inhabitants' minds on the planet Wayland through the power of the Force, and that Thrawn's empire was nothing compared to his abilities. Sabayoth saw himself as all-powerful, and only followed Thrawn's instructions on his own time, which isn't really the best quality you want in someone that you were not only depending on for your military campaign, but it's also a being that you have constantly using battle meditation to coordinate the minds and crew members aboard your own fleets. Sabayoth also killed General Frija Koval, who was Thrawn's greatest ground general, and was able to do this because Thrawn didn't take proper precautions. The Mad Jedi also used the Force to constantly mess with the minds of Thrawn's Imperial forces, including that of Captain Pelion. So yeah, although Thrawn had Ysalan Amari on Wayland with his troops aboard his ship and in facilities, it clearly wasn't enough to fully restrict Sabayoth and set up the conditions for a massive setbacks for Thrawn's campaign against the New Republic. And of course, this created the conditions for the death of General Koval, seriously hindering the ability to wage a future land campaign. So to wrap up the Sabayoth bit here and end my rant on this one aspect of Thrawn's poor decision-making, the Grand Admiral trusted an insane schizophrenic clone of a Jedi who clearly fell to the dark side. Thrawn also ignored a lot of the warning signs and took considerably little precautions in containing the Mad Jedi, which got many of his men killed and put thousands in jeopardy of being controlled by him. How Thrawn should have dealt with Sabayoth if he valued the battle meditation that much would be to constantly have eyes and many Ysalan Amari on Sabayoth. Then, after a few battles, execute the Mad Jedi as his mental state even further declines, and as Sabayoth goes out of his way to explain his superiority. Turning to Thrawn's probably biggest mistake and the most easily preventable, Hanogar. The planet had been poisoned during the Clone Wars when a separatist Lucrehold ship carrying a large stock of the poisonous compound known as trihexylophene 1138 was shot down and crash-landed on the planet. Anyway, the Empire would come to the planet after the Clone Wars and keep Hanogar in its poisoned, dying state, but tell the native Noghri that they were restoring the planet in exchange for Noghri servitude. Of course, this was a ploy to keep the Noghri in Imperial service forever. So during the Thrawn Campaign, the Grand Admiral didn't bother to actually restore Honoghr and kept the status quo of poisoning the planet to retain Noghri service. Thrawn then made extensive use of the Noghri Death Commandos during his campaign and would primarily task them with hunting down and killing Princess Leia. This would of course come back to bite Thrawn in his behind, as the Noghri could smell Leia's bloodline and determine that she was the daughter of Darth Vader, whom the Noghri had an undying respect for. Anyway, the New Republic went to Honoghr and revealed that the Empire had been keeping the planet in its poisoned state to keep Noghri loyalty. Needless to say, this caused the Noghri to switch sides immediately and become loyal to the New Republic as they actually fixed the ecosystem there. As if it wasn't clear enough to Thrawn that losing Honoghr and the Noghri Death Corps would have been a result should the Republic find the truth out, his biggest mistake, which ended up costing him his life, and to lose the Battle of Bilbringi, was of course his bodyguard Rook. Rook was a Noghri, and after discovering the truth that the Empire had kept Honoghr poisoned, Rook assassinated the Chiss Grand Admiral he was supposed to protect. To sum up this whole Honoghr and Rook section, Thrawn kept the planet in a dying state which the Empire was supposed to fix. He relied on the Noghri Death Corps to kill Leia, who they found out was a descendant of Vader, and his personal bodyguard was also a Noghri. This is all pretty stupid on Thrawn's part. Like, he had to know that if he was discovered that the Empire was poisoning Honoghr, that his bodyguard would likely kill him. What Thrawn obviously should have done was either fix the Honoghr ecosystem or at least stop poisoning it. Therefore, there's no scandal for the Empire to create the conditions for a Noghri defection. Or on the other hand, if poisoning the planet was so essential to maintaining Noghri loyalty through servitude, then why send the Noghri Death Corps to capture Leia? But most importantly, why have a Noghri bodyguard when you're actively poisoning their planet? That's a recipe for disaster right there. So that's my criticism of Grand Admiral Thrawn during the Thrawn Campaign of the Expanded Universe. Overall, he just didn't take proper precautions when it mattered most, and although I still believe he's one of the most skilled officers of the Imperial Navy, he just made some of the most crucial errors which were easily avoidable. Also, his viewpoint on studying art to determine an enemy's culture, while interesting and somewhat effective, is a poor means of treating your allies, as it also dehumanizes them to their faces. Cough, Noghri, cough. Overall, was I too hard on Thrawn, or do you think that this assessment has been accurate? Let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching.